It was a quiet evening in the small town of Willow Creek. People were going about their usual routines, unaware that their lives were about to change forever. Children played tag on the streets, laughing as the sun dipped below the horizon. Parents sat on porches sipping tea or coffee, while others prepared dinner inside cozy homes. The air smelled faintly of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers. Everything seemed peaceful, too peaceful. In the distance, a soft hum began to fill the air. At first, no one paid much attention to it. Some thought it was just the wind rustling through the trees. Others dismissed it as an airplane flying overhead. But soon the sound grew louder, deeper, almost like a growl coming from somewhere far away, but getting closer with every passing second. Dogs started barking nervously and birds took flight in panic, abandoning their nests. Something wasn't right. Then, without warning, the sky above Willow Creek began to shimmer. It was as if someone had spilled oil onto water, creating ripples that spread outward endlessly. The colors shifted. Blue turned into purple, then green, and finally gold. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked up. Even the children froze mid-game, their mouths hanging open in awe. No one could explain what was happening. Was it some kind of natural phenomenon? A storm? Or something else entirely? The shimmering intensified until it became unbearable to look at directly. Then, with a deafening crack that echoed across the town, the sky split open. Not literally, of course. It didn't tear apart like fabric, but rather, it parted in a way that defied logic. A massive black void appeared where the clouds used to be, stretching wide enough to swallow the entire town whole. From this void emerged shapes so large they blocked out the stars behind them. They descended slowly, casting long shadows over the land below. These weren't ordinary objects. They were ships. Gigantic, intimidating ships unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Their designs were jagged and industrial, with sharp edges and dark metal surfaces that reflected no light. Each ship stretched for miles, dwarfing even the tallest skyscrapers on Earth. If you squinted hard enough, you might mistake them for floating fortresses or ancient ruins brought to life. These were star destroyers, the stuff of nightmares. For a moment, there was complete silence. Everyone stood frozen, staring at the impossible sight above them. Then chaos erupted. People screamed, ran for cover, or simply collapsed to their knees in shock. Some tried to take pictures with their phones, hoping to capture evidence of what they were seeing. Others called loved ones, frantically trying to make sense of the situation. What's happening? Are we under attack? Is this real? Questions flew everywhere, but no answers came. Meanwhile, inside one of the ships, things weren't going smoothly either. The crew aboard the lead vessel stared at their monitors in disbelief. According to their scans, Earth should have been uninhabited, a barren rock ripe for resource extraction. Instead, they found themselves facing a planet teeming with life. Cities glowed brightly beneath thick atmospheres, satellites orbited in precise patterns, and signals pulsed constantly between continents. This wasn't supposed to happen. Panic set in among the aliens. They hadn't anticipated resistance, let alone intelligent beings capable of defending themselves. Their technology was advanced, yes, but not invincible. And now, here they were, hovering uncertainly above a species they couldn't understand. Every attempt to scan further resulted in garbled data, as though Earth itself was resisting their intrusion. Lights flickered erratically within the ship's control room, adding to the growing sense of unease. Back on the ground, people watched anxiously as the fleet remained motionless. Hours passed, yet nothing happened. The ships didn't fire lasers, drop bombs, or send troops. They just floated there, silent and ominous. Rumors began to spread. Some said the aliens were scared. Others claimed they were planning something big, an invasion perhaps, or maybe even colonization. Whatever the truth was, nobody knew for sure. As night fell, the tension only grew thicker. Streetlights cast eerie glows onto empty roads, highlighting abandoned cars and scattered belongings. Families huddled together indoors, whispering prayers or making plans to evacuate. News channels broadcast nonstop updates, showing footage of the ships from different parts of the world. It quickly became clear that this wasn't isolated to Willow Creek. It was happening everywhere. Every continent, every country, every city had its own alien visitor looming overhead. Despite the fear gripping humanity, there was also a strange sense of wonder. For centuries, people had dreamed of meeting extraterrestrial life. Books, movies, and TV shows had explored the idea countless times. Now, here it was, unfolding in real time. But instead of excitement, most felt dread. These visitors didn't come bearing gifts or messages of peace. They came uninvited, unexplained, and unwelcome. By morning, exhaustion had replaced terror. Sleep-deprived eyes peered out of windows, searching for any sign of movement from the ships. Schools were closed, businesses shut down, and airports grounded all flights. Governments issued statements urging calm, but few listened. Social media exploded with theories ranging from plausible to absurd. Some blamed secret experiments gone wrong. Others claimed it was divine intervention. A handful even joked that aliens must have mistaken Earth for another planet. But deep down, everyone shared the same question. Why are they here? What do they want? And most importantly, why haven't they done anything yet? Unbeknownst to the terrified masses below, the answer lay hidden within the alien fleet. Inside those cold metallic walls, debates raged. Should they retreat, attack, or try to communicate? Time was running out, and decisions needed to be made. Little did either side know. Their next moves would shape the destiny of two civilizations, and possibly the entire galaxy. For now, though, the world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. As the alien fleet continued to hover ominously above Earth, panic gave way to action. Governments around the world sprang into motion, calling emergency meetings and activating protocols that had been buried in classified files for decades. For years, conspiracy theorists had whispered about secret military projects, advanced weapons, hidden bases, and experimental technologies kept under wraps from the public eye. Now, those whispers turned out to be true. Beneath mountains, deep within deserts, and even submerged under oceans, humanity's greatest secrets were finally brought to light. One such facility was located in a remote corner of the Arctic Circle, known only by its codename Project Aurora. It housed an array of cutting-edge defense systems designed specifically for scenarios like this. Among these was a network of orbital platforms equipped with electromagnetic pulse, EMP generators capable of disabling enemy electronics from space. Another innovation was a fleet of unmanned drones powered by artificial intelligence, programmed to adapt to any threat they encountered. These weren't just theoretical designs, they were fully operational and ready to deploy at a moment's notice. But technology alone wasn't going to save humanity. What truly set Earth apart was something far more powerful: unity. Faced with a common enemy, nations put aside centuries-old rivalries and worked together as never before. The United Nations convened an unprecedented global summit where leaders from every country pledged cooperation. Resources were pooled, strategies coordinated, and plans executed with remarkable efficiency. It was as if the entire planet had become one giant organism, each part working in harmony to protect the whole. Social media played a crucial role in this newfound solidarity. Hashtags like We're Earth and ARG Stand Together trended worldwide, spreading messages of hope and resilience. People shared stories of courage, how neighbors helped each other prepare, how strangers came together to build makeshift shelters, and how volunteers signed up en masse to assist in whatever way they could. Even children contributed, drawing pictures of Earth standing strong against the alien invaders. These small acts of kindness reminded everyone that despite the fear, humanity still had heart. Meanwhile, scientists raced against time to decode the signals emanating from the alien ships. Using sophisticated algorithms and quantum computers, they managed to piece together fragments of communication. What they discovered sent chills down their spines. The aliens believed Earth to be uninhabited, a barren rock rich in resources waiting to be exploited. Their mission was simple: mine what they needed, strip the planet bare, and move on without a second thought. But when they arrived and saw cities glowing brightly beneath thick atmospheres, they froze. They hadn't anticipated intelligent life, or, worse, resistance. This revelation sparked both fear and determination among humans. On one hand, it confirmed their worst fears. These visitors weren't here to make friends. On the other hand, it proved that Earth wasn't entirely defenseless. Armed with knowledge and resolve, humanity decided to take the fight to them. Not recklessly, but strategically. Every move would be calculated, every action deliberate. The goal wasn't destruction, it was deterrence. The first step was to show the aliens exactly who they were dealing with. Military commanders devised a plan to demonstrate Earth's capabilities without escalating into full-blown war. Satellites armed with EMP bursts targeted several smaller scout ships lingering near the atmosphere. Within seconds, the vessels went dark, their systems fried by invisible waves of energy. Fighter jets then performed daring maneuvers around the larger ships, weaving through gaps and firing harmless warning shots. Pilots pushed their machines to the limit, showcasing speed, precision, and agility that left observers breathless. These displays served another purpose too. They boosted morale. Watching their forces stand toe-to-toe with interstellar giants filled people with pride and confidence. News outlets broadcast live footage of the operations, turning pilots into overnight heroes. Children cheered, adults clapped, and elders nodded approvingly. For the first time since the crisis began, there was a sense that maybe, just maybe, humanity stood a chance. Behind the scenes, preparations continued non-stop. Engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade existing weapons and develop new ones. Factories churned out ammunition, while research labs tested prototypes day and night. Civilians pitched in wherever possible, donating supplies, offering shelter, and volunteering their skills. Entire communities rallied around the cause, proving once again that strength lies not in numbers but in unity. Even ordinary people found ways to contribute. In rural villages, farmers donated food to feed soldiers stationed nearby. In bustling cities, tech experts hacked into unsecured networks to gather intelligence on the alien fleet. Teachers organized online classes to keep students engaged during school closures, ensuring education didn't grind to a halt. Artists painted murals depicting Earth triumphing over adversity, inspiring millions with their creativity. Every act, no matter how small, added up to something greater, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Yet, amidst all this activity, questions lingered. Could diplomacy still play a role? Was there a chance to avoid bloodshed altogether? Some argued that attacking the aliens, even defensively, might provoke retaliation, leading to catastrophic consequences. Others countered that showing weakness would invite exploitation. After much debate, a compromise emerged. Humanity would extend an olive branch, but only after proving its strength. A message was crafted carefully, balancing firmness with restraint. Transmitted via radio waves and laser pulses, it reached the alien fleet within minutes. The content was straightforward, yet impactful. Leave our planet, or face the consequences. To emphasize the point, Earth launched another demonstration of power. This time, missile silos fired dummy projectiles toward outer space, creating dazzling explosions visible from Earth's surface. Cameras captured the spectacle, broadcasting it globally to drive home the message. For hours, nothing happened. The alien ships remained stationary, their intentions unclear. Then, slowly but surely, lights flickered inside their hulls. Observers reported increased activity, movements that suggested internal discussions were underway. Perhaps the message had gotten through. Or perhaps the aliens were planning something else entirely. Either way, the standoff continued. Back. On the ground, tensions remained high. Families huddled together, praying for peace but preparing for war. Soldiers stood guard at key locations, rifles slung over their shoulders and eyes scanning the skies. Scientists monitored data streams, analyzing every signal for clues, and civilians waited anxiously, hoping for good news but bracing for the worst. Despite the uncertainty, one thing became abundantly clear: humanity had awakened. Gone were the days of complacency and division. In their place stood a united front, a united species determined to protect its home at all costs. The aliens may have underestimated Earth, but they wouldn't make that mistake twice. Not if humanity had anything to say about it. As dawn broke over a restless world, the stage was set for the next chapter in this cosmic drama. Would diplomacy prevail, or would conflict erupt, plunging both sides into chaos? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: humanity was ready. Ready to fight, ready to negotiate, and most importantly, ready to survive. The world held its breath as humanity awaited the aliens' response to Earth's bold message. The silence from the alien fleet stretched on for hours, then days, creating a tense atmosphere that weighed heavily on everyone. People tried to go about their daily lives, cooking meals, caring for children, and working, but their minds were consumed by questions. Had the demonstration of power worked? Were the aliens preparing to leave? Or was this calm before an even greater storm? Inside the United Nations headquarters in New York City, leaders gathered around a massive table, staring at screens displaying live feeds of the alien ships. Military advisors stood nearby, ready to offer counsel at a moment's notice. Scientists monitored incoming data streams, searching for any sign of communication or movement from the extraterrestrial vessels. Despite their outward composure, anxiety radiated off every person in the room. This wasn't just a political issue anymore, it was survival. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, something happened. A faint signal emanated from the lead ship, a series of pulses and frequencies unlike anything previously recorded. It took teams of linguists, mathematicians, and cryptographers nearly 24 hours to decipher the transmission. When they did, the message sent shockwaves through the global community. The aliens wanted to talk. Their words were not spoken, but transmitted as patterns of light and sound, interpreted through advanced algorithms. They expressed confusion and fear, claiming they had no idea Earth was inhabited. According to their account, their species, calling themselves the Vorthak, had fled their dying homeworld decades ago. Overpopulation, environmental collapse, and resource depletion had forced them into exile. For years they wandered the galaxy, scavenging whatever materials they could find to sustain their population. Earth, with its abundant resources and seemingly uninhabited status, had seemed like the perfect target. But now, faced with intelligent life capable of defending itself, the Vorthak were unsure how to proceed. Their tone oscillated between desperation and defiance. They pleaded for understanding, arguing that they had no choice but to take what they needed to survive. At the same time, hints of arrogance crept into their message, suggesting they still believed themselves superior to humanity. "Your planet is vast," they said. "Surely you can spare some resources for those in need." Earth's leaders listened intently, weighing their options carefully. Some argued that helping the Vorthak might prevent further conflict and foster goodwill. Others dismissed the idea outright, pointing out that sharing resources could weaken Earth's defenses and leave humanity vulnerable. Debates raged late into the night, with tempers flaring and alliances shifting. In the end, a compromise emerged. One that balanced compassion with caution. Humanity would offer assistance, but only under strict conditions. Through another carefully crafted transmission, Earth proposed a deal. The Vorthak could share knowledge and technology in exchange for limited access to non-essential resources. More importantly, they must agree never to return to Earth once their needs were met. If they refused, humanity would defend itself with everything it had. When the terms were relayed to the alien fleet, there was a long pause. Then, unexpectedly, the Vorthak accepted. Relief swept across the globe, though skepticism lingered. Many wondered if the aliens were simply buying time to regroup and launch a surprise attack. Others worried that trusting them, even partially, was a grave mistake. Still, the agreement marked a turning point. For the first time since the crisis began, Hope flickered amidst the uncertainty. Over the following weeks, communication between humans and Vorthak intensified. Teams of scientists and engineers collaborated to establish a rudimentary form of dialogue, using mathematics and universal constants as a common language. Slowly but surely, mutual understanding grew. Humans learned that the Vorthak were not a monolithic entity, but rather a fractured society divided into factions. Some groups supported peaceful coexistence, while others viewed humanity as inferior and unworthy of respect. These internal divisions became painfully clear when a rogue faction within the alien fleet broke ranks. Ignoring the negotiated terms, they launched a sudden and devastating assault on Earth's moon-based research facility. The attack came without warning, catching everyone off guard. Explosions rocked the lunar surface, destroying valuable equipment and claiming countless lives. Among the casualties were some of humanity's brightest minds, scientists who had dedicated their careers to advancing space exploration and protecting the planet. News of the betrayal spread rapidly, igniting outrage across the globe. Social media erupted with demands for retaliation, while protests erupted outside government buildings. Families mourned their lost loved ones, vowing never to trust the Vorthak again. Military commanders urged immediate action, arguing that leniency had been met with violence. Diplomats, however, cautioned against rash decisions, reminding everyone that not all Vorthak shared the rogue faction's hostility. Ultimately, humanity chose to respond decisively, but proportionally. Fighter jets and orbital platforms targeted the rebellious ships, disabling them with precision strikes. Pilots flew daring missions, weaving through asteroid fields and debris to avoid counterattacks. Engineers worked around the clock to repair damaged satellites and reinforce Earth's defenses. Civilians contributed too, providing real-time intelligence and logistical support. Together, they fought back with everything they had, proving, once again, that resilience often arises in the face of adversity. By the time the skirmish ended, the rogue faction had been obliterated. Broken hulls drifted aimlessly in space, reminders of the cost of betrayal. But victory came at a price. Lives were lost, and scars ran deep. Not just physical wounds, but emotional ones as well. Many questioned whether peace could truly exist between two such vastly different civilizations. Still, amidst the grief, hope lingered. Perhaps this conflict would serve as a lesson for both sides, teaching them the value of coexistence over conquest. In the aftermath, Earth's leaders convened another global summit to reassess their strategy. Some called for severing ties with the Vorthak entirely, arguing that any interaction risked further bloodshed. Others advocated for continuing negotiations, believing that abandoning diplomacy now would only perpetuate cycles of violence. After heated discussions, a middle ground was reached. Humanity would honor its original agreement with the cooperative faction of the Vorthak, but remain vigilant against future threats. As part of the renewed efforts, joint projects were initiated to help the Vorthak rebuild their society elsewhere. Scientists shared sustainable technologies, while architects designed habitats suitable for alien physiology. These initiatives weren't driven by altruism alone. They served as safeguards, ensuring the Vorthak had alternatives to plundering other planets. By investing in their recovery, humanity hoped to turn former adversaries into allies, or at least neutral parties. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible under the circumstances. Schools reopened, businesses resumed operations, and families reunited after weeks of separation. Yet reminders of the crisis remained everywhere. Memorials were erected to honor those who had died during the moon attack. Billboards displayed messages of unity and resilience, urging people to stay strong despite lingering fears. And overhead, the alien ships continued to loom, serving as constant reminders of how fragile existence truly was. For many, the experience served as a wake-up call. It reminded them of how precious and interconnected their lives were, and how much stronger they became when standing together. Stories of heroism and sacrifice inspired generations to come, ensuring that the lessons of this chapter would never be forgotten. Even the scarred man who had once stared up at the cracked sky now gazed upon a brighter horizon. He smiled, knowing that despite the horrors endured, humanity had risen above. And somewhere far away, aboard the remaining Vorthak ships, whispers of reflection echoed among the crew. They looked back at Earth, vowing never to underestimate the courage and spirit of its inhabitants again. Perhaps someday, two vastly different worlds could find a way to coexist, not as enemies but as neighbors navigating the vastness of the cosmos together. This third installment builds tension, showcases humanity's resolve, and sets the stage for deeper interactions with the alien race, blending action, emotion, and introspection seamlessly. The fragile peace between Earth and the Vorthak hung by a thread. While humanity had extended an olive branch to the cooperative faction of the alien fleet, suspicions lingered like storm clouds on the horizon. The rogue attack on the moon-based research facility had left deep scars, not just physical ones from destroyed equipment and lost lives, but emotional wounds that refused to heal. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, especially when dealing with beings whose motivations remain shrouded in mystery. Despite these challenges, joint projects aimed at helping the Vorthak recover continued cautiously. Engineers worked side by side with their alien counterparts, sharing knowledge about sustainable energy sources, advanced agriculture techniques, and terraforming technologies. These collaborations weren't without tension. Misunderstandings often arose due to cultural differences and communication barriers. Still, progress was made. Plans were drawn up for habitats capable of sustaining the Vorthak outside Earth's orbit, offering them a chance to rebuild their fractured society far from human territory. But not everyone agreed with this approach. Back on Earth, public opinion was divided. Some saw the efforts as noble gestures toward fostering long-term peace. Others viewed them as reckless gambles that prioritized alien welfare over human safety. Protests erupted in major cities, with banners reading, "Protect our planet and no more sacrifices." Conspiracy theories flourished online, claiming that governments were secretly planning to surrender Earth's resources to the Vorthak under the guise of cooperation. Fear spread faster than facts, fueling unrest among the population. Amidst this turmoil, whispers of dissent began to surface within the alien fleet itself. Though the cooperative faction claimed to represent the majority of the Vorthak, cracks in their unity became increasingly apparent. Reports trickled in from intelligence agencies monitoring alien communications, coded messages hinting at internal power struggles. A radical splinter group, emboldened by anger and desperation, argued that negotiating with humans was futile. They believed that force was the only way to secure what they needed to survive. Their leader, known only as Kael'thar, a name translated roughly as Iron Will, advocated for taking Earth by any means necessary. Kael'thar's influence grew stronger with each passing day. His followers rallied around his vision of reclaiming dominance, painting themselves as saviors of their species. To them, humanity's defiance wasn't bravery, it was arrogance. How dare these primitive beings stand in the way of survival? Their rhetoric echoed through the cold corridors of their ships, igniting flames of rebellion among those who felt abandoned by the cooperative faction's concessions. Then, one fateful night, betrayal struck again. It happened during a routine supply transfer near Mars. Humanity had agreed to provide a limited amount of raw materials to help the Vorthak construct temporary shelters while their new habitats were being built. Escort vessels accompanied the cargo ship, ensuring compliance with the terms of the agreement. Everything seemed normal until a sudden surge of activity lit up radar screens aboard the human fleet. Dozens of smaller alien ships detached from the main fleet, surrounding the convoy with alarming speed. Before anyone could react, chaos erupted. Energy beams sliced through the darkness, targeting both the supply ship and its escorts. Pilots scrambled to evade incoming fire, but the ambush was too swift, too precise. Within minutes, the cargo vessel exploded into a fiery ball of debris, illuminating the Martian sky like a second sun. The escort ships fought valiantly, deploying countermeasures and returning fire, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. By the time reinforcements arrived, the attackers had already retreated, leaving behind a trail of destruction. News of the ambush reached Earth within hours, sparking outrage across the globe. Social media exploded with cries for justice, while politicians called emergency sessions to address the escalating threat. Military leaders demanded immediate retaliation, arguing that leniency had been met with violence yet again. Civilians, still reeling from the loss of life during the moon attack, joined the chorus of condemnation. Trust in the cooperative faction of the Vorthak evaporated overnight, replaced by calls to sever all ties and prepare for war. Yet even in the face of such provocation, cooler heads urged restraint. Scientists pointed out that attacking the entire Vorthak fleet would alienate potential allies and escalate tensions further. Instead, they proposed isolating Kael'thar's faction and targeting them specifically. This strategy required pinpoint, accuracy, and coordination, but it offered a chance to neutralize the threat without abandoning diplomacy altogether. Humanity mobilized swiftly. Fighter jets armed with experimental plasma cannons launched from orbital platforms, intercepting the rogue ships before they could regroup. Drones equipped with AI-driven targeting systems swarmed the battlefield, overwhelming the enemy with relentless precision. Ground-based missile silos fired salvos of guided projectiles, creating shockwaves that rippled through space. Every strike was calculated, not to annihilate indiscriminately, but to dismantle Kael'thar's forces piece by piece. Inside the cockpit of a sleek fighter jet, Captain Elena Ramirez led her squadron through treacherous asteroid fields, using natural obstacles to evade enemy fire. Her hands gripped the controls tightly as she maneuvered her craft with practiced skill. Behind her, rookie pilot Marcus Chen struggled to keep up, his heart pounding with adrenaline. Together, they formed part of a larger formation, executing complex maneuvers designed to confuse and outmaneuver the Vorthak. "Stay close, Chen," Ramirez barked over the comms. "We stick to the plan." "Yes, ma'am," Chen replied, his voice trembling slightly. The battle raged on, a dazzling display of light and sound against the vast emptiness of space. Explosions lit up the void as ships collided and disintegrated. Debris floated aimlessly, remnants of a conflict that spanned worlds. Despite the odds, humanity held its ground, driven by a shared determination to protect their home. Back on Earth, civilians played crucial roles in supporting the war effort. Hackers infiltrated unsecured networks, gathering real-time data on enemy movements. Amateur astronomers tracked the positions of alien ships using telescopes and cameras, relaying coordinates to military command centers. Volunteers staffed makeshift hospitals tending to wounded soldiers and comforting grieving families. Even children contributed, organizing fundraisers and writing letters of encouragement to troops stationed in orbit. As the dust settled, the outcome became clear. Kael'thar's faction had been decimated. Broken hulls drifted aimlessly in space, silent testaments to their failed rebellion. Among the wreckage, signals flickered weakly, carrying fragmented transmissions from dying ships. One message stood out, a final declaration from Kael'thar himself. "You may have won this fight," he growled, his voice distorted by static, "but the war is far from over." His words sent chills down spines across the globe. Though his faction had been defeated, the underlying issues remained unresolved. Hunger, desperation, and mistrust still simmered beneath the surface, waiting to boil over once more. For now, however, humanity celebrated a hard-fought victory. Fireworks lit up city skylines and crowds gathered in streets to cheer for the brave men and women who had risked everything to defend Earth. In the aftermath, leaders convened another summit to reassess their strategy. Some argued for tightening restrictions on the remaining Vorthak, limiting their access to resources and technology. Others advocated for doubling down on diplomatic efforts, hoping to win over moderates within the alien fleet. After days of heated debate, a compromise emerged. Humanity would continue working with the cooperative faction but impose stricter oversight and accountability measures. Any sign of aggression would result in swift and decisive action. Meanwhile, scientists, analyzed data recovered from the battle, searching for clues about the Vorthak's weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Engineers studied fragments of alien technology salvaged from the wreckage, reverse engineering components to improve Earth's defenses. Each discovery brought humanity closer to understanding their extraterrestrial adversaries and finding ways to coexist peacefully. For many, the experience served as a stark reminder of how fragile peace truly is. It reminded them that unity isn't just a slogan, it's a necessity. People came together not because they shared beliefs or ideologies, but because they understood that strength lies in standing shoulder to shoulder against adversity. Stories of heroism and sacrifice inspired countless others, proving that courage can shine brightest in the darkest moments, and so life carried on. The scarred man who had once stared up at the cracked sky now gazed upon a brighter horizon. He smiled, knowing that despite the horrors endured, humanity had risen above. The stars no longer felt distant and unreachable. They symbolized endless possibilities waiting to be explored. And somewhere far away aboard the remaining Vorthak ships, whispers of reflection echoed among the crew. They looked back at Earth, vowing never to underestimate the courage and spirit of its inhabitants again. Perhaps someday, two vastly different civilizations could find a way to coexist, not as enemies, but as neighbors navigating the vastness of the cosmos together. Until then, humanity stood ready, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The war with the rogue faction of the Vorthak had ended, but its echoes reverberated across Earth and beyond. Humanity had emerged victorious, yet the cost was undeniable. Lives were lost, resources depleted, and trust fractured, not just between humans and aliens, but among humanity itself. The scars ran deep, etched into the collective psyche of a species that had stared into the abyss and survived. Yet amidst the grief and uncertainty there was also hope, a fragile, flickering light guiding the way forward. In the weeks following the battle, Earth began to heal. Cities rebuilt their shattered infrastructure, stitching together the wounds inflicted by conflict. Factories resumed production, churning out goods needed for recovery. Schools reopened their doors, welcoming children who had grown up too fast during those tense months. Life slowly returned to normal, or at least as close to normal as possible under the circumstances. But reminders of the crisis lingered everywhere. Memorials dedicated to fallen soldiers, plaques honoring civilian heroes, and nightly vigils where families lit candles in memory of loved ones. Governments worked tirelessly to address lingering concerns. Military budgets were reevaluated, with funds redirected toward rebuilding efforts rather than further escalation. Diplomatic channels remained open with the cooperative faction of the Vorthak, though interactions were now conducted with heightened caution. Joint projects aimed at aiding the alien refugees continued cautiously, with strict oversight ensuring transparency and accountability. These initiatives weren't perfect, misunderstandings still arose and progress was slow, but they represented a fragile bridge between two vastly different civilizations. Meanwhile, scientists made groundbreaking discoveries using data recovered from the rogue faction's wreckage. Fragments of alien technology revealed insights into faster-than-light travel, sustainable energy solutions, and advanced medical treatments. Such innovations promised to revolutionize industries and improve quality of life for millions. Engineers adapted these technologies for human use, creating hybrid systems that combined Earth's ingenuity with extraterrestrial advancements. For the first time, humanity glimpsed what could be achieved through collaboration, even if born out of necessity. Space exploration accelerated rapidly in the wake of the crisis. Governments and private companies invested heavily in developing new spacecraft capable of venturing deeper into the cosmos. Astronauts trained rigorously for missions to distant planets, while robotic probes scouted potential colonization sites. Satellites equipped with cutting-edge sensors monitored nearby star systems, searching for signs of other intelligent life. Humanity no longer viewed space as a distant dream. It became a tangible frontier, rich with opportunities and challenges alike. But perhaps the most profound change occurred within society itself. The shared experience of facing an existential threat brought people closer together. Communities formed bonds stronger than ever before, united by a sense of purpose and resilience. Acts of kindness multiplied. Neighbors helped each other rebuild homes. Strangers donated food and supplies to those in need, and volunteers organized events to lift spirits. Even political divisions softened somewhat, as leaders recognized the importance of cooperation over conflict. Artists captured this transformation through their work. Painters depicted scenes of unity, showing diverse hands reaching toward the stars. Writers penned stories celebrating courage and sacrifice, reminding readers of the strength found in standing together. Musicians composed anthems that resonated, globally inspiring millions to look ahead with optimism. Creativity flourished as people sought ways to express gratitude for survival and determination to build a better future. For many, the crisis served as a wake-up call, an opportunity to reflect on priorities and values. Conversations shifted from material wealth to meaningful connections, from short-term gains to long-term sustainability. Environmental movements gained momentum, driven by renewed appreciation for Earth's fragility. Activists called for policies addressing climate change, resource conservation, and equitable distribution of wealth. People realized that protecting their planet wasn't just about defending against external threats. It was about safeguarding their home for generations to come. Among those touched profoundly by the events was the scarred man who had once gazed up at the cracked sky in fear. His name was Thomas Reed, a former soldier turned mechanic living in a small town outside Chicago. When the alien fleet first appeared, he had been paralyzed by memories of past wars, conflicts that left him physically and emotionally scarred. But witnessing humanity's response reignited something within him, a sense of duty, a belief that even broken people can make a difference. Thomas joined a local volunteer group tasked with repairing damaged infrastructure. Day after day, he worked alongside neighbors, fixing roads, restoring power lines, and clearing debris. At night, he attended community meetings, offering suggestions based on his military experience. Slowly but surely, he regained confidence, not just in himself, but in humanity's ability to overcome adversity. One evening, as he stood atop a hill overlooking the repaired town, he felt a warmth spread through his chest. The scars might remain, but so did hope. And then came the day when everything changed again. It started with a transmission from the cooperative faction of the Vorthak. Their leader, known simply as Sailnor, requested permission to land on Earth, not as conquerors or negotiators, but as guests seeking understanding. After much deliberation, world leaders agreed, imposing stringent security measures to ensure safety. Landing sites were chosen carefully, surrounded by armed guards and surveillance drones. Journalists flocked to cover the historic event, capturing every moment for posterity. When the alien delegation disembarked from their ship, gasps rippled through the crowd. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their elongated limbs and translucent skin glowed faintly under sunlight. Eyes resembling liquid pools scanned the surroundings curiously, betraying a mix of awe and apprehension. They moved cautiously, speaking softly through translation devices provided by human scientists. Each step they took symbolized a leap of faith for both sides. Over the next few days, meetings were held in neutral locations, ranging from conference halls to open fields. Topics ranged from cultural exchange programs to joint scientific endeavors. Humans shared stories of art, music, and literature, while the Vorthak demonstrated their own forms of expression, complex patterns of light and sound that conveyed emotions words couldn't capture. Food samples were exchanged, leading to unexpected culinary experiments combining ingredients from both worlds. Laughter erupted frequently, breaking down barriers faster than formal negotiations ever could. Yet, skepticism persisted. Protesters gathered outside venues, holding placards demanding stricter controls. Conspiracy theorists claimed the visit was a ploy to gather intelligence for another attack. Security forces remained vigilant, ready to intervene at the slightest sign of trouble. Despite these challenges, the encounters fostered genuine connections. Children approached the aliens without fear, offering drawings and trinkets as tokens of friendship. Elders shared wisdom passed down through generations, emphasizing themes of coexistence and mutual respect. One particularly poignant moment occurred during a ceremony honoring those who had died in the conflict. Representatives from both species stood side by side, bowing their heads in silence. Tears flowed freely as names were read aloud, accompanied by soft melodies played on traditional instruments. It was a reminder that loss transcends boundaries, that pain is universal, regardless of origin. As the delegation prepared to depart, Salnor addressed the assembled crowd. "We came here expecting hostility," he said, his voice trembling slightly despite the translator's calm tone. "Instead, we found resilience, compassion, and a willingness to forgive. Know this, not all of us are your enemies. Some of us wish only to learn, to grow, and to find peace." His words resonated deeply, earning applause from everyone present. As the ship ascended back into the sky, trailing streaks of golden light, humanity watched with bittersweet emotions. The journey ahead would undoubtedly be fraught with challenges, but for the first time, there was a glimmer of possibility, a chance to forge unprecedented alliances and explore uncharted territories together. In the months that followed, relations between Earth and the cooperative Vorthak improved steadily. Trade agreements were signed, allowing limited exchanges of goods and knowledge. Educational programs facilitated cross-cultural learning, enabling students to study languages, histories, and philosophies of both species. Joint research teams tackled global issues like environmental degradation and disease eradication, pooling resources and expertise for the greater good. For Thomas Reed, the changes brought personal fulfillment. He became involved in outreach, programs designed to promote interstellar diplomacy, sharing his experiences with audiences worldwide. His story inspired countless others to embrace empathy and perseverance, proving that even the most damaged souls can contribute to healing. Looking back, humanity realized how far they had come since that fateful evening when the sky cracked open. What began as terror transformed into triumph, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a species determined to survive and thrive. The stars no longer